Education, education, and, education. Well, do you remember that three-word slogan by Tony Blair? It's got to be better than make Brexit work. Yeah. Well, this is my granddaughter. Yeah, my little old Grace. And she is absolutely lovely, that she is. Well, she just completed her, well, SATs. Yeah, it's like an exam, you see, they have to do. 6 years, yeah. Well, she just scored 100% in her mathematics. And she's being considered, well, to skip 2 years of 2 years of primary school education. And how has that been made possible? Well, grit and determination on little old Grace's behalf, but also her mother, my daughter, who has put the work in and has made education, well, rather exciting. Yes, education in the home. And the end result is that as a pupil, little old Grace, she just craves to learn. Very important, you know. And her favourite topic is science, yeah, and space. She loves NASA, she does, yeah. And she's enrolled in a programme called Kumon, which has no doubtedly contributed to her progress. Her little sister's also in Kumon now as well, and she's doing brilliantly well, too. Obviously, this makes me extremely proud of my daughter, but also my grandchildren. And quite frankly, their partner too. Or her partner, their father. Well, amazing achievements. It really is. Unfortunately, it's not commonplace in the United Kingdom. No. And although I have to admit, all my grandchildren are, well, following suit. As we brought our children up, we always pushed education because we didn't feel, when we grew up, that we had support from our parents, and the schools were pretty much, well, just left you to your own devices. I know I was. I can remember, I'm going a bit off track now, I can remember when my parents actually decided they were going to go to a parents' evening because they were actually at one point worried about my education because I was really struggling with my English and stuff like that, and just reading and writing, basically, in primary school. The teacher comes up to him and says, "Don't got to worry about Marcus." No. "Look what he made over there." "Yes, I made a lighthouse out of toilet rolls and a yoghurt pot." But what was quite interesting about it was the fact that it had a light bulb in it and it worked, and I made a switch out of paper clips. Yeah, so that's like how my mind worked. I was in a dream world, complete out dream world. But you still need all your education, you still need the English, maths, etc., etc. So important. And I struggled at school because I'd sit there. They say, write a story or, about this. And I'd be lucky if I'd be completing that dream world, and by the time I actually get out of my little dream world, I hadn't wrote anything. And everybody's finished. It wasn't until later on I'd really bucked my ideas up and did it on my own, basically. So yes, I am lucky that my grandchildren are doing well. They're following suit. All of them are. And there'll be 10 this year. I'll have 10 grandchildren. Scary and expensive. Yeah. And my little Grace can have a brother. Oh. Well, you know what else is expensive? Considering I've just gone off a tangent. Childcare. Childcare is just off the charts mad. It's ridiculous. I'm crazy. We live in a world where most families these days have to have both parents at work. The ideal scenario for me would be 2 parents doing part-time work, so you could put the work into your kids. That would be my sort of like perfect scenario, yeah? Oh, well, childcare in the United Kingdom is too expensive, and it's just going to hamper the UK's ability to nurture tomorrow's Boffins. We need more little Graces that we do. The same Boffins that, well, we need to replace all those Boffins that are leaving the United Kingdom. This is so short-sighted, it really is. An idiotic decision to leave the European Union and Horizon Europe as well. It's like a pull factor. But all the little Boffins, and those who have actually finished education, obviously. Anyway, while you're here, please boop the old like button. You probably won't, just go off tangent, but there will be a secret word at the end of this video. Yeah, and if you want sports, you can do that on Patreon or buy us a coffee, and the links are down below in the description. And it is very much appreciated. That it is, it really is. And we go live on Sundays at 8 PM GMT. Yeah. Join us then. Talk about stuff, yeah? Anyway, how much does childcare actually cost in the United Kingdom? Well, this shocked me, this one did. Now, OECD data recently showed that the UK has the most expensive childcare in the developed world. The most expensive. It's got the least growth in the G7 and the most expensive childcare in the whole developed world. Clever, eh? No, this is ridiculously stupid. The campaigners are warning of the rising costs. Well, they put childcare out of reach for the majority of families. It really does. An analysis by the charity Kumon, well, last year found that there is not a single area in England where the average cost of childcare, full-time childcare, works out less than £14,000 annually, every year, for one child. What have you got, two? Most people have about 3 kids, don't they? On average, about 2 to 3 children. Like my daughter's gonna have 4, although I can't talk. I had 6. God, oh, they were the days. Good fun, I must say. Anyway, you can apply though for 30 hours a week free childcare in the United Kingdom. But that's only between the years of between 3 and 4. What about 2? 3, 2 to 3. Well, yeah. To me, this is crazy. We should be starting young. It doesn't have to be hardline kind of, stick them all up desks and stuff, staring at blackboards. No, you educate through play. No. It's very hard to even find a place in the United Kingdom. In fact, my son, Wayne, he also had struggled with little Darcy. He had to move nurseries because it closed down, like many are closing down. They just can't afford to run. They're struggling to make a profit and shutting their doors in mass. Now, partly due to the UK's rule of, one adult for every 4 children. Which I kind of I'll explain later in this video, but I kind of understand why that's necessary in England. And it's also driven by a lack of EU immigration as well. They can't get the staff to work in these places. Now, in France, it is 1 adult for every 8 children. And I believe there's a reason for that, and I'll get into that in a minute. Anyway, today's parents are reporting that they're being hit hard by nursery fee increases of around 10%. So this is sparking riots. Well, actually, yeah, they're protesting a little bit, yeah. But anyway, they're sparking fresh pleas for the government to find a solution to these soaring childcare costs. The government is part of the problem. And the problem is not something we can just flick a switch and solve. No. This is this government's been short-sighted. So short-sighted. Never seem to look to the future. No. So how much does childcare, being I live in France, how much is it in France? Well, as a rough idea, it's quite simple, really. The lowest earning families, and, they're set quite high, about 20,000 or something like that, we pay as little as €50 a month. And for full-time place in a nursery, €50 a month they'll pay for full-time place in nursery, but the costs rise with salary. Therefore, a family earning around £4,000 a month will pay around €400 for childcare, or a nursery place. And the highest earning families won't pay any more than €1,000 per child. Now, we're talking about high earners, you know what I mean? They should be paying anyway, quite frankly. Well, in France, nurseries have 1 adult to every 8 children, unlike the UK, which is 1 adult to every 4, like I mentioned earlier. Which has made it possible. Quite frankly, it's made possible because of French culture. I'm sorry, But I'll just say it as I see it. I live here. I can see a marked difference. And my dear wife worked as a teacher assistant. And she also looked after a little disabled girl in school. And the stories that she would tell me... And she was in a village school. This is in Salhouse. It's a little village school. Salhouse near Wroxham in Norfolk. Not in the cities. It's not in the deprived areas. We're talking places where there's quite a bit of wealth where we live. We unfortunately didn't have much of it, but, you know... but as for, yeah. So I'm going to touch into the cultural bit in a minute, actually. But as far as my daughter is concerned, she is not on the payroll. So she can assist her children, you know, with their education and their learning, what have you, because she's at home. And she's one of those who really, she strives to do best by her family. She really does. You know, I sound biased, but I'm not being biased. She really does. And she's not one of them dodgy dolies, as the right-wing newspapers or media might like to put them. Yeah, the dodgy dolies. Her children's father earns a packet. He really does earn a packet as a software hacker. Yeah, he hacks software and see if they break, basically. Stability, I suppose. Stability testing. So she's quite lucky in that extent, but many parents aren't. No. But with the cost of living already racing ahead, such as energy prices increasing, on average around 400%, and growing, it seems, compared to in France, which is set around 15%, partly because the EDF was part of that, which has been capped to 4% increase for electricity, because Macron, in his wisdom, he privatised the remaining part of EDF. Not privatised. Nationalised the remaining part of EDF. Part of it was government, owned by the people, and part was owned privately. But now it's all government. Yeah. Anyway, mortgage rates are steadily rising too in the UK, and there's about 1.5 million people who are about to reset their fixed-term mortgages to the new rates. So they might have been enjoying 2 or 3% before, or whatever it might have been. I can't remember, to be honest. But they could be jumping to around 6% or more. Well, that's going to really eat at your bottom line, if you've got any bottom line left, to be honest. The home ownership is becoming a luxury in the United Kingdom, yeah. It's no longer the norm. No. And rents are out of reach as well. They're followed, so everything's becoming too expensive. So, it is understandable that both parents have to work. That's why I see it. I just feel they've got a lot of choice in some instances, unless you're earning a really good wage. But unfortunately, that's not the case in you. It really isn't. Most people are modest incomes. For instance, even it's combined income of around 50k. You take 14 grand out of that per child, you're getting very close to thinking, is it worth working? The young children are expensive anyway, aren't they? Got to clothe them, feed them, apparently. What you're supposed to do, isn't that? You know? Although some people don't, it seems. Yeah. In fact, one of my daughter's friends, she goes to the food bank, even though she doesn't need to. She's allowed to, apparently, but she doesn't need to. She's getting food. Yeah. Anyway, that's another story. It's disgraceful, quite frankly. And I'll tell you this. They are not...
I think it's rather uplifting.
They're not. Nothing uplifting about a food bank. So yes, the costs quickly eat at the 50-odd K, and then all we get left with is the crumbs at the table. And British parents have, quite frankly, because they both work and they've got no time to educate their children, their preschool children especially, let alone the energy. By the time everybody gets home from work, all they want to do is just collapse in their chair. The amount of times I've come home from work and just fell asleep in the easy chair. Well, I'll have to share something with you, but please, don't shoot the messenger. No. Back in 2014, Liz Truss, remember her? She was like a ship passing in the night. Then she got beaten by letters, yeah? Liz Truss. Oh, God, okay.
That is a disgrace.
Okay, I just couldn't resist. Sorry, I do apologise. Anyway, Elizabeth Truss in 2014 launched an attack against all the nurseries in Britain. She did, yeah, saying that many of them were chaotic, she said. The children are running around, they are, yeah. And there's no sense of purpose. As somebody who's witnessed it, I have to agree. Now, she called for a traditional approach to be adopted in the early years, similar to that in France. That's what she said. But she went on to say that children get into the habit of waiting their turn and saying hello to the teacher when they come into the room. It's just formal discipline. Just common decency, really. But what you notice in France, or in the French nursery, she says, is that how calm they are. All their classes are structured and led by teachers. It's a requirement in France, that it is. Now, as somebody, like I say, who lives in France, I have to agree with Truss on this one. It is like chalk and cheese. It really is chalk and cheese. For start, they get fed real food. My little granddaughter here, yeah, she gets salmon. In fact, she just had a birthday party. And where does she have a birthday party? All little kiddies and stuff. It was in a Chinese restaurant. A Chinese buffet restaurant in Limoges. And they're eating mussels and all sorts of prawns and stuff. And sushi and what have you. That'd be unheard of in the UK. It will be chicken nuggets or dinosaur shapes. And what's it? Apparently that's food. Oh. It's just chalk and cheese. It really is chalk and cheese. But I have to admit, the childcare in France is affordable. And it is state subsidised. Quite frankly, because our consecutive French governments and the parents here, that starts at home, you know, realise that education and culture, well, they're bound together. If we go to a French restaurant, for instance, there's a healthy blend of, generally adults and children of all ages. Yeah? But we've never experienced terrible tots running around making a complete and utter nuisance of themselves. No. This is a cultural, I think we had a marked shift in the way that we bring up our children. Not everybody, obviously. I have to admit, our children have been, I'm really biased now, but they've done a marvellous job, they really are. But there is problems in society. And there's problems with parents who don't educate. I sound really pretentious. I sound like Lee Anderson, though. 30p Lee. But I do feel that we need to be putting more into our kids. But also, if you don't have the time or the energy to do so, no matter how much you really want to, can you? I do think it's a cultural issue. And that's probably the reason why we can have 8 children for every one adult, in France. Yeah. It's because kids are behaving well. You've only got to have 1 or 2 disruptive kids in the class, and the whole thing's gone to pot. It really has. I'll ask my missus. She knows. Oh, God. Anyway, Tony Blair's mantra. Education, education, education. I know some people are going to hate the fact I mentioned Tony Blair. But he did actually deliver on it. He did. But there was a lot more work to be done. There really was a lot more work to be done. Unfortunately, he messed up with the Iraq War, and, I don't want to get into that, because that's obviously a real sore point. But then the Tories got in, and they started their systematic destruction of the structures, which are the bedrock of early years learning, but let alone everything else regarding, obviously, the fact they pump and poop into rivers and seas, and the whole thing has just gone to pot. Yeah. But anyway, I'm talking about education. These Tories are just so short-sighted And the damage they have done already, it's going to take years to reverse, it really is. And parents, well, they're going to take back control of their child's education. Because the Tories, well, they have not done a very good job, have they? You've only got to look around. They're not providing the building blocks. It all starts right at the beginning. As soon as they, you know, they're like little sponges, babies are. I don't even realise this. They reckon if whatever you put in your child's mouth within the first year or something like that, is what they'll be able to palate later on in life. You're sort of like programming the taste buds, I suppose. So yes, not doing a very good job, are they, the Tories, at building the building blocks for our future Boffins, our little, you know, little graces. And my daughter has done a good job because she has the time and the inclination to provide, well, exciting schooling for little Grace, but also her other children. Yeah. But currently, many children are being let down, like I said I was at school, by our education system. And without some kind of government support, some intervention by the government, parents will, well, they're going to be forced to leave the workplace. Yeah. Because of ever increasing childcare costs of at least 14 grand a year per child full time. Now, this is amidst the cost of living crisis. Ideally, parents need to educate the children, and at an early age, to prepare them for school. Are we actually capable to produce more little old Graces? Oh my God, don't we need them? Since they're all leaving the UK, yeah? Because a whole load of numpties put that cross in the wrong box that they did back in 2016. But let's not forget, 2016 railroaded us to the 2019 general election, which gave us Alexander Boris the Federal Johnson and his...
We got an oven-ready deal, put it in the microwave.
Well, my secret word of today is rock. Yeah, I'm not talking about him who can bounce, you know, nuts off his nipples, not him. No, not him. Not Dwayne Johnson. No, the School of Rock. Yeah, some people say I look like him, but there you go. Jack Black. No, oh, I don't. Oh, thank you. Thanks for that. Anyway. Oh my God, ain't he big these days? School of Rock. So that's the word of today. You can use all three words if you like. School of Rock. It makes education fun. That's the point. Pretty much. We need to make education fun. So we get more little old, right, you know, Graces. That's what we need. We really do. Anyway. That was a long one, and oh my God, it's 23 minutes long already. Anyway, so better come to an end in a mo. Not just yet, in a mo. Don't forget the word of today is rock, as in the School of Rock. Or you could even just use Jack Black. Or just Black, or just Jack. I don't mind either. Let me know if you got to the end of the video. Even though you probably just scrolled right through, got to the end and just found... Yeah, anyway, we're... Oh, don't forget to... boop the old like button, because it does really help the channel, you know. But also support us on Patreon or buy us a coffee. But we are doing a rewilding here in France where we're planting 1,000 trees on 2 hectares of land. I know I tell everybody every single time, but I do get new people come to each video, you see. So, yeah, you can buy a tree via the GoFundMe link down below, and I'll plant a tree here in France on your behalf and put a sign with that tree with your name on, or it could be a message for a loved one, or maybe a memory of somebody. Anyway. I suppose I better go because the video's getting too long, you know, so I'm going to say ta-ta, and educate your kids. We need more Boffins, you know.